The first, early basic concept. 1. Intonation. The term intonation refers to the way the voice goes up and down in beat when people are speaking. It's after the matter passes away. We express out and down, and it enables us to understand the of others, as well as helping to determine meaning. Intonation gives a clue about the speaker's attitude or how he feels about what he is saying. For instance, we can get a good idea as to whether someone is interested, bored, being kind, being honest, or lying. 2. Pitch. Pitch can be understood as the quality of a sound that is governed by rate of vibration produced it. In the sound pitch refers to the degree of highness or loudness of a tone. 3. Tone. Tone is certain pattern of pitch movement. Mapping of tone. The speaker singles whether what he or she say is proclamation, an agreement, a question, a hesitation, an indicator of compliment, and continuation of turn-taking in speech. 4. Tonic cycle. Tonic cycle is a more straight cycle where the tone falls. This cycle is more prominent than the other and will tend to be longer in duration and louder than the other straight cycle is utterancy. The tonic cycle is normally the primary straight cycle of the light content work in a tonation parade. For example, I'm a student. I will contact and meet him tomorrow. 5. Intonation fret. Intonation fret is a straight of beat chord which contains a tonic cycle. An utterance can be spoken at one or several tone units depending on the timbre of the pitch and the speaker purpose of the communication. The faster a person speaks, the longer and fewer the tone unit. The slower the speech, the shorter and more numerous the tone unit. For example, I'm going to Hanoi for a meeting next Saturday. I'm going to Hanoi for a meeting next Saturday. I'm going to Hanoi for a meeting next Saturday. A synthetic level, a noun phrase, a verb phrase, and a verbal phrase, a prepositional phrase, a clause, a sociable sentence can be a tone unit. For example, if the team is well, the manager will you speak kindly about the group. If the team is well, the manager will speak kindly about the group.
These 4 intonation patterns, you can already do most of what you need in English. So, how do you use these intonation patterns? The most basic rule is that you use a falling tone to show the end of a sentence. For example, I live in Madrid. She's a lawyer. We might be a bit late.
You can use a rising tone to show that your sentence isn't finished yet. For example, I live in Madrid, but I was born in Canada. She's a lawyer, although she isn't working at the moment. We might be a bit late because I don't finish work until 7. That's the most basic rule. And it's important. If you don't use rising and falling tones in the right places, people won't understand whether you've finished speaking or not. However, there are many other ways to use these intonation patterns. Let's look at another. Did you get some bread?
I thought you were going to get the bread.
How are we going to make sandwiches if we don't have any bread?
We can go to the bakery and buy some sandwiches there.
But I think the bakery is closed on Saturdays.
It's not Saturday today. It's Sunday.
Oh.
Next, let's come to part 2 to study about function of intonation. Intonation has 4 major functions, namely attitudinal functions, grammatical functions, accentual functions, and discord functions. And first, we will start with attitudinal and grammatical functions. 1. Attitudinal functions. Intonations enables us to express emotion and attitudes as we speak. And this adds a special kind of meaning to spoken language. This is called the attitudinal function of intonation. Let's watch the video below to understand more attitudinal functions.
Intonation can also be used as an attitudinal function. This means that it uses rising and falling tones to express emotion. A rising tone can indicate surprise. Really? A falling tone can indicate disbelief. Really? A flat tone can indicate boredom. Really? And any mixture of these can indicate sarcasm. I really believe you. Remember that intonation isn't standard, and some emotions may be expressed differently by different people. In particular, sarcasm varies a lot. Furthermore, intonation is used in combination with sentence stress.
Besides that function, there is another function called grammatical functions. The listener is better able to recognize the grammar and syntactic structure of what is being said by using the information contained in the intonation. Intonation as a grammatical function uses rising and falling tones to indicate question and answer, news and old information, and finished and unfinished sentence. In yes or no questions, the intonation usually rises or rises, then falls. For example, do you like animal? Animal is raised. In questions that contain a question word such as who, what, when, where, why, or how, the intonation usually for example, what's your favorite animal? And in contrasting questions, the intonation rise then falls. Do you prefer cats or dog? Intonation often rise with old information and fall with new information. I like cats and dogs, but I really like rabbits. In question text, the information falls then rise if the answer is uncertain. You aren't afraid of horses, are you? If the answer is certain, the intonation falls. You aren't afraid of who, are you? In short answers, the intonation falls. No, I'm not. Finally, intonation often rises with list of informations but falls at the end of the sentence. I have a dog, 2 cats, 3 rabbits, and a house.
Hi guys, my name is Elio. So today I will talk about its topic intonation function. In the part 3, accentual function. The term accentual refers as action songwriter attack the word action to straight. When it's at the intonation has accentual function, it implies that their placement of straight is somewhat determined by intonation. Bass 1, the most common position for their placement of tonic syllable is the last lexical word, noun, adjective, word, a verb, and not the function word for adjective or purpose. However, any word may become the bearer of tonic syllable. For example, A. She was wearing a red dress. B. She was not wearing a dress, and she was wearing a green dress. 2. Similarly, for the purpose of emphasizing the tonic streak can be placed in other positions. For example, A. The movie was very boring, and B. The movie was very boring. 3. Intonation is used to clear out their ambiguity. For example, A. I have learned to live. This means I'm planning to live. And B. I have plans to live. This means I have to some plan that I have to live. The part 2, discourse function. Intonation can signal to the listener what is to be taken as new information and what is already given. It can indicate when the speaker is indicating some sort of contact or link with material in another tone unit. 1. Attention focusing. In case of attention focusing, tonic stress is placed on the appropriate syllable of one particular word in the tone unit. The tonic stress is placed on the word that is the most important. For example, A. She went to Vietnam. B. He went to the drawing room. 2. Information content. Sometimes the stress is placed on syllable in terms of information content. The more predicates are word occurrences in a given sentence. The larger is information content will be. Tonic stress will be placed on the word with high information content. For example, as I have to take the dog for a walk. B. I have to take the dog to the vet. Exception in many cases it is still difficult to explain the tonic explainment in terms of important or information. For example, in the following sentences: A. Your coach is unfair. B. The wind is breaking up.
What a fantastic film! Wasn't it great?
Are you insane? It was the worst movie I've seen all year.
Why would you say that? It was amazing.
Forget it. It's 2 hours of my life I'm never getting back.
Why don't we get something to eat? Your pick.
How about we just go home? I'm pretty tired. Again, you heard
Rising, falling, rising, falling, falling, rising, flat, high, low. The most important are the first four. rising, falling, and combinations of rising and falling tones. Flat tones, including high and low tones, aren't common and don't have many uses, so we won't talk about them today.
However, rising and falling tones can each have many different meanings. Keep this in mind. One intonation pattern does not mean one thing. The same intonation can have different meanings in different situations. Also, intonation is flexible. There are rules, but the rules are not 100% fixed. Different people speak in different styles. Let's practice. Here's a word. Let's try saying the word with different intonation patterns. Repeat after me. Rising. Where? Falling. Where? Rising, falling. Where? Falling, rising. Where?
Let's try one more time with two words. How many? Rising. How many? Falling. How many? Rising, falling. How many? Falling.
There are four common types of intonation pattern: front, right, right front, and front right. Intonation serves different functions in communication, and how it is used depends on context. Front intonation. Falling tone. Generally, front intonation is used to indicate finality. Therefore, we normally use a front tone in this case. The end of a declarative utterance just give a statement. B. The end of a reply to a question. C. The end of a WH question which asks for information. D. The end of comment. E. A question that requires a confirmation or seek an agreement rather than a real question. The tag may follow a statement or an exclamatory sentence. F. A noun phrase adds to a WH word question to clarify the subject or object of the question. D. The end of a clause containing new information. And H. The end of indirect or more polite requests. For example, put them down, go over there, say again the words, put that over there, or the quick with the following intonation. Right intonation. Rising tones. Right intonation generally indicated non-finality. Thus, right intonation typically occur in this circumstance. A. The end of a tone unit containing the information that has been mentioned, already known, or implicitly implied. B. Vocative that indicates the arrestee. C. Question tags that show uncertainty and require answer. D. There's no question to make sure about something. E. Direct request, offer, and suggestion. F. Front or WH word question to get the speaker repeats what he/she has said. Z. A noun phrase referring to the subject or object of the statement before it. 8. List. For example, when the meeting starts, right. Each card in the void. And would you like a cup of tea? Tea, right. The question is a sort of way of sending out an invitation for some kind of response from whoever you are speaking to.
First, we talk about definition of intonation. Intonation is the rise and fall of the voice when speaking up and down. It is very important for the listener because if the voice is not in the right place, it can lead to misunderstanding or create a feeling of discomfort. Intonation is quite complicated while converting emotional. Happy we say different, sad we say different, angry, emotional, scared, worried we say different. First is exclamatory sentence. Exclamation sentences are a type of sentences expressing a strong emotional of the speaker about a phenomenon or event. Exclamation sentences usually end with an exclamation point or a period. Alternative question. A question that offers the listener a choice of two or more alternatives and is characterized by rising intonations on each alternative except for the final one, which had falling intonation as would you like tea or coffee, and is she living on today or tomorrow? Conditional sentences. In a conditional sentences, the tone rises on the if clause and falls gradually in the main clause. Example is if you see Danny, please ask him to call Rebecca. Some functioning as suggestion. Why don't you go to see the doctor? In this case, speeds go up at the beginning and gradually down at the end. Alright, intonation. The voice fall and rise usually within one word. Main function of forward intonation is to show that the speaker is not certain of the answers they are giving to a question, or is reluctant to reply, as also to a falling tone used when there is no hesitation. It is also used in polite requests or suggestion. B. The end of a what clause or just is followed by a clause. What is need is earning as much money as possible. My problem is I don't know how to get there. The fact of the matter is building the railroads is costly. C. The end of a relative clause in a step sentence if the information in the clause is given. Where are the sandwiches? It is dog that ate on sandwich. D. The end of suggest answer given by the questioner. Where are you going? Shopping mall? What are you wearing today? The dress you was yesterday again? A phrase
or a clause showing contrast or comparison. If its information is meant to be given. Also, I work hard. I don't earn much money. Rather watch film on XXTV rather than go to the theater. Right or forthright intonation. Right or forthright intonation is also common in the following case. A is subordinate clause or subordinate phrase. While I was learning English, he centered. Unfortunately, we got lost on the way home. The point is he can overcome the phobia. B is effective communication, such as greeting, leave takings, expressions of thanks, or other social formulas. And good morning. See you next week.